now joined by Jeffrey Spivack, who is Director of Financial Planning Operations for Citizens Bank. Good to see you, Jeffrey.
Thanks, Steve. Happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me to come along.
You got Jeffrey, we're doing this program right around Thanksgiving, be seen a little bit later. The economy, the recession, or some form of recession, and financial anxiety. Am I making too much of that, my friend?
No, there's a lot of that floating around right now. And what's more, not only is there a lot of anxiety floating around, questions about inflation, questions about the stock market, questions about coming off the recent midterms. There's a lot of causes for anxiety. And an awful lot of people out there right now aren't 100% sure what to do. And a lot of the prevalent guidance is, don't worry, the market's going to come back. Interest rates are going to come down. To me, that's kind of a facile answer. I would look at it and I would say to them, instead of doing nothing, let's go revisit our financial plan and see if we've taken any damage in this market. See if there isn't any opportunities we can use to exploit what's happening in the market right now and take kind of a proactive control approach as opposed to just waiting for things to improve.
Well, let's stay on this because I only refer to myself because I'm representative of a lot of people who go, hey, wait a minute. So I'm not that far away from who knows what retirement, semi-retirement means, who knows. But I would say this to you, as I sit there and I, oh, look at that. And those who have savings, and hopefully you do, and not everyone does, you sit there and go, okay, well, I'm taking a hit in the market, so I need to make a move now. But then I think to myself, there's a paper loss, and then there's a real loss. And again, for those who are not in the stock market, choose to or not able to, I don't want to offend anyone, but the difference between a paper loss and a real loss is real. So that's why I go, sit tight, just sit here. But you say that's not a plan.
It's not a plan, Steve. A plan in this case is we go in and we take a look at your cash flow. We make sure that we have adequate emergency savings in case the negative economy impacts on somebody's employment.
And you don't mean in equities, you mean in cash. You're not losing anything there, right?
No, well, no, not at all. I mean, it's about measuring the cash flow, breaking it out, taking a look at the budget and seeing if there's things that could be cut back on to improve on savings. This is a great time. This may be a tough time to be invested in the stock market. It is probably historically going to turn out to be a great time to be investing in the stock market. And being able to break out surplus cash flows, a way to be able to supplement savings, is probably going to do nothing but improve the situation for many investors out there in the marketplace in coming days and months and years. But sitting tight and not doing anything, that is, to me, would be a second decision, not the first decision. The first decision should be, let's revisit our financial plan and see where we stand right now. See if there are any opportunities to be able to improve our situation or take advantage of what's happening now.
Jeffrey, why do you think so many people find it so uncomfortable to talk about money, to talk about finances? And I like to ask one question at a time, frankly, to have an honest discussion about their budget, or don't even have one.
Well, that's many of the people that I talk to on a day-by-day basis. The reality is people are used to working, doing what it is that they do, taking care of the finances. That's a secondary thing. And very often the time that they're most interested is when they hear the stock market hitting new highs, which probably long-term won't benefit them quite as much as when the market's, near to lows. I think it's an honest time for people to get together with the people that they trust, competent, qualified advisors who can provide a financial plan to try to determine what is their current situation. Are they off track? And is retirement now bumped out a few years? Are we going to have to take less? When you have clients who wind up in shortfall, we really only have a couple of switches to be able to pull. One is how much we save. Two is how we invest. Three is when we can retire. And four is how much we can take in retirement. So when we look at those goals, whether retirement is 20 years away or 5 years away, or it happened 2 years ago, being able to make decisions around that is what creates the anxiety level.
How do you create a budget? And for people watching, well, yeah, of course I know how to create a budget, but I'm not sure most people do. What are some of the key steps in creating a family or personal budget?
Well, it usually starts with listing out the major expenses. Let's take a look at the major expenses, break them into categories. make sure that we can see which ones cost us more, particularly in a higher interest rate environment. In a higher interest rate environment, an existing loan probably costs quite a bit less than, for example, credit cards. Coming up with a plan to be able to reduce it so that, how much people are having to pay out because interest rates are high at present isn't draining their finances as they're going on. Remember that inflation doesn't just impact on groceries and gasoline and purchase of major items. It also impacts on money and, particularly in debt. And that can be a very serious problem, for somebody that's got the wrong mixture of debt.
Jeffrey, let me try this. And P.S. Citizens has taken over Investors. If I'm not mistaken, Investors has been a longtime underwriter of ours. Citizens is taken over, correct, for Investors?
That's correct, yes.
I get that right. So this is what I'm curious about. So younger people, I don't know, teens, younger, whatever. Is it harder to talk to kids about financial literacy is a bad word, just basic money issues, A, and B, why is it so important?
Well, when you talk to people that are younger, the problem is the timeline. They look at it and they go, yeah, I don't know if I'm ever going to retire. Or if I'm going to retire, it's 30 years from now. Why am I worried about it today? When the reality is every dollar that you put away now when they're that young is probably going to be could be $6, $7, $8 when retirement actually comes. It's going to have a lot more bang than a dollar they put away, say, 20 years from now. I like the term financial literacy, Steve. I think that financial literacy is very much something that should be taught. I learned it at my father's, sitting next to my father as he explained it to me. But then I took that and I went and I studied economics and I studied finance, and that became my life's work. I don't suspect that's going to be for everybody or most people, but being able to be literate about your finances, that's an important lesson that everybody should learn. And it's never too late. All you need to do is find the right advisor, the person that's qualified to be able to give you good advice, and sit down and create a financial plan. Part of it's about the cash flow and the budget. Part of it's about liability management. And a good piece of it is probably about investing and investment management. Are we invested in the right place? Did things shift in the marketplace? Should we be making moves to try to bring it back into alignment with our risk objective?
But Jeffrey, I have one more quick one on this before I let you go.
Yeah.
Isn't it difficult to plan when so many things, COVID being the most obvious in the last several years, when so many things are unpredictable, including, am I going to even have this job? Is my company going to shut down? Are they going to lay people off? Isn't it very difficult to plan financially in such an environment that's so unpredictable?
Well, of course, but the thing about planning is whatever your situation is, financially, economically, in terms of job stability, planning brings more certainty, not less. And the actual creation of the financial plan is not a bullet event. It's not a one-time thing you fire and it's good to go. And I did a plan 5 years ago, so I'm all set. It's about revisiting. It's about coming back to it. The majority of most financial plans build very much into the type of market volatility that we've seen. They look at it. They run, for example, a Monte Carlo analysis to say, what happens if the stock market does drop 20% next year? How often am I not going to be able to successfully retire, on the basis of that? And, the plans that we do ourselves take that very much into account. So do most of my colleagues and our competitors.
Jeffrey Spivack, I want to thank you so much for joining us to talk about money issues, finance. It matters a great deal. Jeffrey, thank you. All the best.
You bet. Thank you very much, Steve. Take care.
You got it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Steve Adubato. We'll see you next time.
So you are breaking up with me?
Oh, yeah.
Please do not tell me it is the policy puffin.
Actually, it's NJM.
Wow. They don't even have a mascot.
That's kind of the point.
Ouch. Well, I am not paying for dinner.
Well, I'm saving money with NJM, so that's fine.
This year, upgrade to NJM and see how much you could save.
Unbelievable.
No jingles or mascots, just great insurance. NJM. Get a quote today.
Also brought to you by Delta Dental of New Jersey. Everyone deserves a healthy smile. The Russell Berry Foundation, making a difference. Englewood Health. Valley Bank. NJM Insurance Group, serving New Jersey's drivers, homeowners, and business owners for more than 100 years. The Fidelco Group, the Northward Center, New Jersey's clean energy program, lighting the way to a clean energy future. And by Johnson & Johnson.